Ladies and gentlemen, from the Universal Church of Freedom, Peace and Justice, Deacon Gerald Celente.
Hello, this is Deacon Celente of the Universal Church of Freedom, Peace and Justice. Well, it's December 10th, 2022. 15 days away from Christmas. For all the Christians, the day that Jesus Christ came to earth, in the little town of Bethlehem. All the media, all they ever talk about in Christmas time, how are holiday sales doing? Are retail sales up or are they down? Foot traffic is down, but online sales are up. Not a word about the Prince of Peace. No, not a peep. Not a peep about peace. Only war and only money. That's all it is. Again, where are all of the religions that believe in Christ? How come they're not out campaigning for peace in honor of the Prince of Peace? And we are a non-denominational religion. But I am a warrior for the Prince of Peace because I believe in peace on earth, goodwill to all. But that's not the message. The message is only more war. Only more war, only more death, only more destruction. Am I angry? Well, yes, I'm angry because I believe in what St. Thomas Aquinas said. Quote, "He who is not angry when there is just cause for anger is immoral." Why? Because anger looks to the good of justice. And if you can live amid injustice without anger, you are immoral as well as unjust. So, there's no anger from the religions for the wars that just keep going on and slaughtering and murdering people all over the world. No talk about peace. And as I have warned and believe, World War III has already begun. And when they asked Albert Einstein, a man that knew a thing or two about the atomic bomb, what kind of weapons, they asked him, will be used to fight in World War III? He said, I don't know, but they'll be using sticks and stones to fight the fourth. This is from Bloomberg this week. Putin says Russia may add nuclear first strike to strategy. Vladimir Putin said Russia may consider formally adding the possibility of a preventive nuclear first strike to disarm an opponent to its military doctrine just days after warning that the risk of atomic war is rising. Quote, "We're thinking about this," the Russian president told reporters. "If we are talking about disarming strike, perhaps we should think about using the approaches of our American partners." Comments were Putin's second on the nuclear issue this week. On Wednesday, he said the risk of atomic warfare is rising and called Russia's arsenal, quote, "a deterrent factor." And all of the talk, didn't someone use atom bombs, nuclear bombs before? They killed hundreds of thousands of innocent people. Oh, Nagasaki, Hiroshima, Harry Truman, the Americans. They used them before, they use them again, and they're ramping up the war. Now they're bombing Russian airfields and other military complexes within Russia. And Putin warned when the war began that he didn't want to be aggressive in going into Ukraine, didn't want to destroy the infrastructure. But then when they bombed the Crimea bridge and blew up the Nord Stream pipelines, Putin said now the war's escalated. And it keeps escalating. And America's Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, a boy that supported every war since he's been in the government, from Syria to Afghanistan to Iraq, Libya, that Antony Blinken, quote, "Our focus is on continuing to do what we're doing, which is to make sure that Ukraine has in its hands what it needs to defend itself." Meaning, more weapons of death. There's a new bill that's going to put another $37 billion going to Ukraine, which will bring the total up to about $115 billion since the Ukraine war began on February 24th of this year. Yep. And then it came out, again, as we've written the facts and talked about them, how this war began. And it was when the United States overthrew the democratically elected government of Viktor Yanukovych in a coup in 2014 that is detailed in the spring issue of the Trends Journal. Article written by Dr. Paul Craig Roberts, former Assistant U.S. Treasury Secretary. To end that conflict, they had the Minsk Agreement that Russia says Ukraine violated. And the Minsk Agreement was basically that the Donbass region would be a separatist region until they come up with a solution, because they're all Russian down there, or most of the people. And they didn't support the coup that overthrew the person that they voted for. Ukrainians have killed an estimated 15,000 people in the Donbass region since that agreement had been signed, and then the second Minsk agreement in 2015. And that was one of the reasons Putin said that they were going into Ukraine, to stop this. Again, we're totally opposed to the war, and we totally understand why it happened. And now this came out. Former German Chancellor Angela Merkel has confirmed her government's duplicity regarding the conflict in Ukraine by confirming that the 2014 ceasefire agreement was meant to give Kyiv time to build up its military. That's according to the Russian Foreign Ministry spokeswoman. In an interview with Zeit magazine published on Wednesday, Merkel said that the Minsk Protocol, brokered by Germany and France, was, quote, an attempt to give Ukraine time to become stronger. And that's evidence now on the battlefield. So they never intended for a peace agreement, because Merkel goes on to say that Russia could easily have overrun Ukraine troops in 2015. And she doubted that, quote, NATO countries could have done as much then as they're doing now. So the whole thing was just to keep building up the military and keep going more toward war. And the war drums keep beating. U.S. to increase military presence in Australia and build up aimed at China. An joint press conference with Australia's Defence Minister and Foreign Minister Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, a man whose previous job was on the board of directors of Raytheon, the second largest defense contractor in the United States, said that the U.S. will increase its rotational forces in Australia, quote, that includes rotations of bomber task forces, fighters, and future rotations of U.S. Navy and Army capabilities, Austin said. He said the U.S. will be deploying 6 nuclear-capable B-252 bombers in Australia. While announcing the additional deployments, Austin accused China of dangerous actions in the region. Quote, China's dangerous and coercive actions throughout the Indo-Pacific, including around Taiwan and toward the Pacific Island countries and the East and South China Sea, threaten regional peace and stability, Austin said. This is the Austin that led to charges in Iraq that murdered over 1 million people. Afghanistan, Libya, Syria, Yemen, Vietnam, Korean War, one war after another by the United States in violation of what America was founded upon by the founding fathers. And the first president of the United States, George Washington, who's probably turning in his grave that they call it Washington, D.C., because in his farewell address, he makes it very clear, no foreign entanglements, particularly in Europe, because these conflicts have been going on for centuries. And again, World War II isn't ancient history. It ended 1 year before I was born. World War I isn't ancient history. It was the beginning of the 20th century. It just took 20 years to start World War II. World War III has begun. What is the United States doing in that territory? That's no threat to we, the people of the United States. Nor is it to Canada. Canada challenges China on Taiwan Strait. Financial Times. Canada plans to sail more warships through Taiwan Strait to affirm the waters claimed by China are international. We need to make sure that the question of Taiwan Strait is clear, that it remains an international strait, Canada's Foreign Minister, Melanie Joly, said in an interview. You ready? Since this part of the world is so important for us, we need to be a reliable partner, because far too long we weren't. And now we're putting our money where our mouth is. Miss Joly or Jolie, why is this part of the world so important to you? You're up in Canada. This is an issue between China and Taiwan. This is none of your business. But Canada, like the United States and NATO, has slaughtered people all over the world. Name the war. We're putting our money where our mouth is. Japan to increase military budget by 56%. Again, so now you have the Ukraine war heating up and conflict with China. World War III has begun. They're talking about nuclear weapons. What are you doing to stop this? Going to go in a bomb shelter? Oh, they're building bomb shelters all over Japan now. Wouldn't it be wonderful after nuclear explosions to come out of the bomb shelter and happy days are here again? What mentality is this? This is crazy. And it's crazy because we have crazy people running and ruining our lives. They all talk about what's going on in Ukraine, forgetting about the destruction of Libya, the richest country in the world, in Africa, before NATO destroyed it. Brought to you by Barack Obama, Sarkozy in France, and Cameron in the UK, Hillary Clinton, Samantha Power, and Susan Rice in the US. No mention of that. No, I mentioned this boy Blinken. Blinken was sent to Saudi Arabia in March of 2015 when Saudi Arabia announced from their embassy in Washington, D.C. in March of 2015 that they were going to attack Yemen to get rid of the Houthis. The Houthis, which when they made up the country of Saudi Arabia in around 1933-34, the first thing that the Saudis did was try to defeat the Houthis because they border Yemen and Saudi Arabia. They lost. The Houthis have been there for thousands of years. And now there's a bill coming out in the House in the United States. The resolution would end U.S. support for the Saudi war and blockade on Yemen that, according to the United Nations, you ready? Has killed at least 377,000 people, of which more than half are children under the age of 5. Hey, those Russians, aren't they terrible? Why, that missile strike that went into Poland, that killed 2 people. That was the headline. 2 people, 377 don't count. They're only Yemenis. Nobody cares. A war brought to you by Barack Obama, the Nobel Peace Prize winner, and Anthony Blinken, who doesn't stop blinking for more war, more hatred, more of our money to kill more people around the world. Where's the outrage? And now, the United States Congress, the House of Representatives, on Thursday passed an $858 billion 2023 National Authorization Act for the Defense Department. Yep. An 8% increase, as 63% of the American people are living paycheck to paycheck. But more money going to the military-industrial complex and to slaughter people around the world. Where is the outrage? Where's the fight for freedom? He who's not angry when there is just cause for anger is immoral. Why? Because anger looks to the good of justice. And if you can live amid injustice without anger, you are immoral as well as unjust. It's Christmas time. Deck the halls with boughs of holly. Do what you can, any way you can, to accentuate the positive and eliminate the negative. And donate for peace and freedom and justice. freedompeacejustice.com, freedompeacejustice.com. Without your support, without uniting for peace on earth, goodwill to all, you see the facts. I'm not making them up. I'm reading reports that are put out by the mainstream news and then giving the analysis. You can see where this is going. World War III has begun. And if we don't stop it, it's going to end with nuclear annihilation across the planet. You know, they just found an article here. Let me see. What do I do with it? Scientists crack 2 million year old DNA code. Scientists have decoded 2 million year old DNA preserved in Ice Age sediments in the far north of Greenland. Before this, the oldest DNA material came from the tooth of a 1 million year old Siberian mammoth. The DNA samples are preserved in clay and quartz minerals on the northeast corner of Greenland, close to the North Pole. The study shows that 2 million years ago, during a warm spell, ice averaged minimum temperatures and they were warm. There was a book out called The Shifting of the Earth. 2 million years. No, it didn't all begin 10,000 years ago or with the Neanderthals. We don't have a clue. Life on Earth has been destroyed before, whether by natural forces or human forces. And we're on the path of mass destruction. So during this Christmas season, in honor of the Prince of Peace, do what you can do to bring peace on earth, goodwill to all. Thank you.